It's Beer O'Clock and it's the Beer O'Clock Show. My name is Mark, and joining me with cake round his choppers and still a bit sleepy from the Beer O'Clock birthday party, it's Steve. Hello, Steve.
Hi Mark, how you doing?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you, mate. Absolutely fine. Still reveling in the party atmosphere from last week.
Very good. Also joining us is one half of the awesome Crema Brewery home brewing duo, the better half perhaps, but the one without the beard. It's Emma. Hello, Emma.
Hello there.
How are you doing?
I'm all right. I'm slightly warm and I'm keen to taste some beer.
Yes, aren't we all? Right, we do have a very interesting beer this week. It's one I've never even heard of before until I bought it. But we'll get to that in just a little bit, but not too far away, because everyone's thirsty. Stephen,
Mark,
what have you done that's interesting beer-wise lately, buddy?
what have I done? This past week has been quite interesting actually, and this is something that Emma can probably jump in as well, because it was the launch of the Stone Enjoy By beer that they put out every now and again, which has got a date on it, which you're supposed to drink. And for the first time ever, it was imported into the UK by Brewdog, and went on sale at their bars and bottle shop at about 6 o'clock. So I was on one side of London with a few craft wankers, and I believe Emma was on the other side with another bunch of craft wankers, and we were trying to out drink each other. I was going to say something else there, but it sounded wrong. And yeah, it was certainly an interesting evening. I wasn't blown away by the beer, if I'm completely honest. I've had better beer, and I suppose in terms of comparing it to a launch of a massive beer, I'd say it was nowhere near the Unhuman Cannibal from earlier on in the year. But I'm keen to hear Emma's views on it as well.
Do you mean it wasn't as good in terms of the excitement and anticipation, or do you mean in terms of the actual beer and how good you thought the beer was and how much you enjoyed it?
I think a bit of both actually, because I think we were in Brewdog at Shoreditch, and they made a pretty piss poor effort of announcing it and saying it was on sale. They were trying to use a megaphone that the guy clearly has never used a megaphone before, and it just all felt a bit flat. Where I guess you being in the flagship Brewdog bar over in Shepherd's Bush, I'm guessing they probably had brass bands and fireworks and all sorts to announce the launch over your side of London.
Well, when the actual beer was available on sale for people to buy at 6 o'clock, they didn't really announce it. I think there were a lot of people in there who knew, and a lot of people who were pacing around and waiting for it to get to 6 o'clock so that they could get hold of their beer. And myself and one of my friends went to the bar at about 20 to 6 and kind of hung around with puppy dog eyes and said, "Oh, what time is it? Is it 6 o'clock?" And Dean very kindly said, "No, it isn't 6 o'clock yet, but would you like me to bring you a bottle over at 6 o'clock?" And I said, "Yes, please. Thank you very much."
So, there's service.
That's what you get when you got your own table.
Yes.
When you're there regularly enough that you know all members of staff.
Yep.
So, but beer-wise, I just felt it had a really strange aroma to it. It smelt really dank, and I just couldn't get past the aroma. It was a decent enough beer, but I don't think it was stunning, and I don't think I'd go out of my way to go for one again, especially not at the 16 quid price tag as well, which I thought was a little bit steep.
Yeah, it was a little bit steep. It's nice if you can share it with friends, kind of split the cost a little bit. Usually people, when they say beers are dank, they're quite often saying it as a compliment. You know, the aroma of a beer being dank, people often refer to being really hoppy and being a really good thing. For me, I didn't think it had too much in the way of aroma, but I thought it was very easy drinking. I wasn't actually that excited about the hype beforehand. I wanted to try it, but I didn't really get my hopes up. And I was pleasantly surprised by how good it tasted and how easy to drink it was, especially for the ABV. It went down scarily well.
Yeah, that's the one thing I found about it. It was far too easy to drink, very, very smooth as well.
Yeah, we forced it down.
Yeah, oh, absolutely, yeah. So in response to your original question, Mark, that's about it really for this last week.
What about you, Emma?
Various assorted other beers.
Emma, what about you? Have you had anything interesting other than Enjoy By?
Oh, what have we had? I might have to consult with the other half of Crema. Oh, yes. My co-brewer reminds me that we tried the incredible Ace Edge at the Birmingham Beer Bash at the weekend. So if you've had Buxton's Axe Edge, then Ace Edge is a variant which is brewed solely with Sriracha Ace hops. Sriracha Ace are a bit of a kind of Marmite hop where some people love them and some people hate them. And I've never felt incredibly strongly about them either way. Generally like them, and really, really big fan of Ace Edge. So yeah, that was a highlight of our Saturday in Birmingham. Recommend it. Got one in for later.
When you said it was a Marmite, I almost said, "Oh, I like Marmite," but I take it that's not quite what you meant.
I hate Marmite. Some people feel that way about Sriracha Ace. They hate it.
So Stephen, news time.
Mark. News, indeed.
You have a little bit of news, haven't you?
Oh, yeah, there's news.
All right, here's your pips. Okay,
in the now increasingly obvious and boring what have Brewdog been up to this week segment, new bar, Cardiff, yada, yada, yada. Move on. Next bit of news. Just say again, just to mention the London Beer City, which is almost upon us now, running from the 9th of August, various events across London. I was lucky enough in the past week to catch up with Will Hawkes, who's coordinating the whole thing, and you can catch an interview with him at the end of the show. But for more information, just head to londonbeercity.com, I think it is. If not, Will gives you the right address in the interview on the end, so listen in for that one. And then just a final piece of news, not really, well, kind of news, but not. We ran a competition a few weeks back with Hogsback, and we had a number of right entries that almost, actually did get into double figures, just the number of people.
It wasn't just Miles then.
No, it wasn't just Miles. David from Hogsback set the question of what hops is he growing in his garden, or something along those lines, and it wasn't too difficult a Google search to actually find out what they were. It was Farnham, White Vine, and Cascade hops. So all of the names went into the random number generator, and the winner was Nick Plain at the Mighty Jag. Nick's already been notified, and the beers should already be winging their way to him. So congratulations for that, and thanks everyone for entering.
Yeah, enjoy all those bottles of chocolate lager, mate.
Yeah, all of them.
Anything else?
No, that's it for the news this week.
All right, well, I can see a certain lady is quite fanging for a beer, so let's get into this week's selection, which is from Brew By Numbers. It's 0101 Saison Citra, which is a 5.7% ABV, and surprisingly has citra hops in it. So,
shock.
I know. I'm quite got a keen eye. I can pick up these things. So, let's get into it. But Steve, if you can tell us a little bit about this beer, and who chose this beer? Was it you or was it Emma that picked this beer?
It was me. Because there's an interesting. I say it's interesting. There's a story that goes with it that we were planning to do a different beer on this evening's show from a different brewery, but we were looking to do a partisan saison, but they are constantly brewing new variations on their saisons, and we wanted to try and get one that was as fresh as possible. And when I went to pick one up, the beers that were on the shelf weren't that fresh, whereas this one was a lot fresher. So I made an executive decision, being co-host of the show and 50% shareholder, therefore, that I made an executive decision that we'd go with this one because it was fresher. Right. And it's also got Citra in it, which I really like.
Well, it smells amazing.
Yes.
There's like a kind of a souriness to it, I suppose.
Mm.
It looks amazing as well.
I've not poured it yet. I was too busy explaining about the.
Okay, I won't spoil it, but it looks amazing.
Oh wow!
A nice kind of fizzy lemon.
Yeah.
Have you had this one before, Emma?
I think I have, yes. I think this was one of the first Saisons that Brew By Numbers brewed back in the day when they were starting up. I've got a feeling, without the help of Untapped, that I have had it before, yes. Yeah. Had it and liked it.
Right. That's always good.
Excellent. And so ends the review.
That's it, that's all I have to say. I liked it.
Now, apparently there's some... Go on, Steve.
Go on.
No, you go.
No, you go. No, I want you to go.
No, you.
I was about to say, you mentioned before some controversy over the whole Saison thing. Now, Steve, don't you like Saisons?
I'm not a massive fan, no.
Okay. Whereas Emma is Queen Saison, apparently. So
I'm a big fan. Yeah.
I will let you two duke it out over the what are the redeeming features of a Saison, and Steve, why don't you like them? Go. I'm drinking.
Am I going first? Oh,
Sure.
you drink.
Ladies first.
All right, yeah, I'll go first. I think the main thing I like about Saisons is that as a style, they are so incredibly versatile. So they can be pale gold through to orange to amber in colour. They can vary quite widely in ABV, from anything down to about 3 up to, you can get these big Saisons that are quite strong, up to sort of 7.5%. You can get a variety in hop character to them. You can get a variety in the kind of spices and the fruits that come through from the yeast. People add different spices, people add fruit juices. They can really be incredibly varied, and that's what I like best about them.
Now, Stephen, why don't you like Saisons?
I don't generally like the smell of them because I think they just smell a bit off, and I think it's those variant spices and flavors and things that can get thrown in them that just put me off. So sometimes it just takes me a bit too far away from the sort of style of beer that I like.
I think this would be a good, what's the word? I'm blanking on a word here. You should try and fill in for me.
Convincer?
Just the one that will convince you otherwise, because it's pretty hop forward, and as you said, you like Citra hops. It's got quite a lot of hop character to it, and it's got quite a lot of citrusy hop character to it, and it's relatively clean in terms of the yeast character. I mean, it is there, but it's either balanced out or almost overwhelmed by the citrusy hops. So in terms of Saisons, and you're not liking the whole Belgian spicy ester thing, I think this is the far end of the spectrum, in that it's quite clean and quite fresh and quite citrusy. What do you think?
Well, let's give it a go and see, shall we?
Yeah, go ahead, mate. I've already started mine.
Oh, you've already started. Okay, I'm on my own here then with my full glass. Am I? Cheers, everyone.
Cheers, guys. I found it's got a nice, slightly Belgian-y nose to it, which is my phrase I picked up from you actually, Emma, which is when I can smell the yeast.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing to be able to smell the yeast sometimes, but you can certainly smell the citrus aroma of the hops as well.
Oh yeah, you can pick up that lemony thing, that slight sourness to it. I can taste the yeast in there, but it's not like I've poured one of these really strong Belgians down my throat.
Yeah, I think it's all quite subtle and well balanced. Yeah, the kind of almost bakery kind of yeast smell to it, and the little tiny bit of sharpness, and the lemon. I think they're all quite well balanced. Not overwhelming.
It's fruity.
Mm-hmm.
She's taking notes, mate. Be careful.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's got a fruity edge to it. I'm getting a lot of almost orange like flavour from it. Like you say, the end of it, it's not so bitter, but there's more. There's an edge of sourness to it. It is very well balanced, though. It's a good example of the style.
Yeah, I think it's a reasonable example. Yeah, you don't get too much hop bitterness in the end. That's quite to style. It is lemony flavoured and lemony aroma, but it's not like say a single hop Citra IPA. It's nowhere near as overwhelming to your nose and tongue as that would be. Yeah, there's less bitterness there, but yeah, you're still getting the aroma and the flavour of the hops without quite so much of the bitterness. I think the bitterness is it's balanced out by the yeast character.
I'd sum this up as a slightly fruity lemon sherbet.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's very nice. I think this is probably maybe the third Saison I've had, I think.
How does it rank?
I can't remember the first one. The last one I had was Duty's homebrew, which was really nice. But I mean, this is no offense to Duty, but
All the time.
But no, it's a great beer. I'm really enjoying this.
Perfect for a hot summer's day.
Oh yeah, very light, very refreshing.
Yeah. See, even I'd drink this again, and I'd drink this. I think you're right. It's absolutely perfect for the warm weather. Sat out in the garden just supping this. It's certainly very tasty. Don't think it's still going to convince me about Saison Citra. They still wouldn't be my go-to beer.
I have to say, for me, the yeastiness overpowers the Citra somewhat. I'm not really picking up the Citra that much, but I think I'm a bit more sensitive to the yeasty flavours.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't like that character in a beer, then you're always going to notice it, and maybe notice it in a negative way. For me, because I really like Saisons and I like that yeast character they have, I find it quite citrusy. Not in a bad way, but I find it more citrusy than a kind of traditional Saison. If you're going to get kind of quite militant about style, then traditional Saisons were not necessarily very hop-forward beers. They would have hop character, but it would normally be quite a sort of a mild hop character, and the yeast would really be to the forefront. So most of what you would smell would be the kind of fruity, spicy esters from the yeast. But this is a kind of, if you like, a new kind of hybrid style of Saison where it's been quite heavily hopped. And some people would think that's a good thing. But yeah, I like the variation. So I like traditional Saisons, and I like single hop Saisons. I like hop heavy Saisons. Another one that springs to mind is the Weird Beard and Elusive Brewing Nelson Saison from last summer, which was Andy Parker's collaboration with Weird Beard. That was a very heavily hopped single hop Nelson Saison. And in fact, I have said this to Andy, so it's not it's not a bad thing to say this now. The first time I tried it, I couldn't finish it because it was so hoppy and not what I was expecting at all. Nelson can be a really vinous hop, and I do like that quality in beer, but it was so overpowering that it was just too much for me the first time I tried it.
What do you mean by vinous?
I mean, like the kind of flavours you associate with white wine.
Right, gotcha. Okay.
Like vinous, like wine, winous.
Yeah.
Winous.
I thought it was what it meant.
You might think it's an odd quality for a beer, but some people like it.
It probably come as no surprise that I really enjoyed that beer, and probably didn't even at the time realise it was a Saison until
Really?
well after. Yeah.
It is a really, really hoppy beer, actually. I mean, some people would say it's just not to style for a Saison. Yeah, it's super hoppy. Maybe that's why you liked it so much.
Probably. So let me just check my history here, Emma. Saisons, these are the ones that were originally brewed in France for the farm hands to have as a kind of refreshing middle of the day drink to then make them get back out into the fields and finish their work.
Yes, it was in the French-speaking region of Belgium, yeah, but apart from that, spot on, yeah. They were farmhouse ales, so they were made on farms, for farm workers, by farm workers, sometimes. So they were made in the cold months, and then kept and stored and held until the summer months, so that the farm workers could have a drink which was refreshing, reasonably low ABV, would quench their thirst, not be too strong and make them fall over or cut anyone with a scythe. Yeah, to kind of keep them going during the summer months.
See, look at that. I do know a little bit about saisons.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Bit of history.
Yeah. I like a little bit of a historical fact on the show every now and again.
Right, Emma, what's going on with Crema lately?
What is going on with Crema? Well, we are just fighting the ridiculous temperature in our flat. So we've been trying to get to the bottom of the problem we were having with our wet yeast, where we make a starter for our beer to increase the cell count of the yeast before we pitch it. And we were getting some funny flavours in our beer that we couldn't quite identify, and we asked around, and everybody had different opinions on it, but nobody could pinpoint exactly what it was. And we kind of tried to go back to scientific first principles, and we figured out that when you buy your yeast, it has a temperature spectrum where that is the temperature range that you would ferment your beer at. So, for example, an ale yeast might be 18 to 25 degrees. However, when we're making the starter in our flat, it's probably closer to 30 degrees in our kitchen. So, although some people say it's fine to propagate yeast at high temperature, we think that what might be happening was we're selecting for strains of the yeast which are happier working at high temperature. So if you select a population that wants to work at 30 degrees and then you pitch your yeast into your beer and you want to ferment it at 18 degrees, what happened a couple of times was our fermentation stalled out, probably because the yeast that we wanted to work at 18 degrees we'd kind of killed off. So what we've done recently is rebrewed our US IPA and our US double IPA with dry yeast. So we are awaiting the results of that as we speak to see if they're going to taste delicious this time rather than slightly weird. So that is what's going on with Crema at the moment. Just crossing our fingers, hoping our beers taste nice.
Very good. Well, good luck.
Thank you.
And you're both going to be joining us in a few weeks for the lock-in that we're doing as well, aren't you?
Yes, we are. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, looking forward to that. Hopefully it will have cooled down a bit by then.
Oh, God, I hope
yeah.
so.
Forward to it.
Yeah, by beginning of September, evenings should hopefully be a little bit cooler. But yeah, we're looking forward to having you both on for that, because we've obviously got the advantage of you two being able to share a camera, and which enables us to be able to get 11 people on a Google Hangout rather than the standard 10.
Yep, maximise.
Absolutely, yeah.
Have you got a full house of participants?
We have got a full house. It seems to be changing every now and again. Every now and again we just get someone say, "Oh, sorry, had something come up." But we've got 10 again at the moment, and we've got a backup list as well in case those 10 anyone drops out. Plus, we're kind of expecting that people might want to jump in on the evening as well. So as somebody sort of leaves the virtual table, we'll be able to extend an invite to anybody new should they wish to join us.
The virtual bar.
Oh, I like that. A virtual bar. That's better than a virtual table.
Pull up a stool at a virtual bar.
Yes, love it.
That sounds like it'd be quite chaotic. So I look forward to some chaos.
It should be fun, and it'll be live on the internet for everyone to laugh at us and tweet about how pissed I'm getting by about 9:30. So it should be quite cool. And of course we've got the Thornbridge beer that everyone is going to be doing, which is going to be really good to get everyone's group commentary on a beer that I'm sure everyone's had already. But it'll be fun.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt to have it again.
No.
Yeah, I've only had it once, and it was a long time ago, and I can't even remember what it tasted like. So it's certainly for a first for us on the show to review as well. And they all the bottles arrived today as well. So I'll be muling them around London soon for the various people that are going to be visiting us in our virtual bar.
Yep, looking forward to collecting my bottle. Our bottle next week.
You get a bottle. You get a
week after.
Bottle each, Emma. You don't have to share one. Yeah.
Go crazy. Okay.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Absolutely
I'm confused with dates. Yeah, it's the 18th. No, 15th.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, it'll be soon by the time this podcast goes out.
One of those dates. It's one of those dates. Yeah. Okay.
I remember when we had you and Chris on for our homebrew special, which was last year. I think we had you on.
Yeah, I think
and
so.
You guys were quite lucky enough that you only had to have half a bottle of the homebrew each, whereas poor little old me had an entire bottle, and I was ready for bed by halfway through. But,
you need to get a partner. You need to get a reviewing partner. It's helpful sometimes to have to share beer.
Unfortunately, my wife turns her nose up at beer.
Just, open the door and call out to people in the street.
I don't want to do that around here.
Ask for a helper.
You live in the same neck of the woods as me, Emma. You don't want to do that around here.
No, don't. Keep your door shut. Don't call out to anyone in the streets.
Right. I'm almost finished,
we probably just need to start recording in the same place, Mark. That would even be a start, wouldn't it? If we could actually get in the same place for just one review, that'd be pretty good.
It would be quite nice, yeah. But then I wouldn't know how to record because I'm used to doing it this way.
Yeah, I suppose so.
How are you guys doing with your 0101 Saison Citras?
I'm done. I've finished.
Oh wow!
I thought you didn't like Saison, Steve.
It kind of evaporated. No, it went. There's a little bit left in the bottom. I think I'm a bit guilty of maybe pouring a bit too excitedly because that's all full of bits. No, it's. I found it actually went down very, very easily. I think it's more well balanced than maybe some other saisons I've had, and I think because of that, it's not got too many of the characteristics that I don't like in a saison, i.e. the yeast and the spice, which I know are essential characteristics of a saison. But no, I really enjoyed that actually. It did go down very, very easily.
Yeah, I found it delightful. I thought, that Belgian-y taste to it isn't unpleasant. I'm actually getting used to it a little bit now, and that lingering sourness and bitterness from the hops. It was a lovely beer.
I think you should keep your eye out for some other Brew By Number saisons because they've done some really nice ones. I know they change all the time, much as the Partisan do. So you can't always go to the shop and buy the same one. You kind of have to just buy what's ready. But I would say if you like this one, keep your eye out for other saisons that they've made because they're quite likely to be in the same sort of character where they're kind of hoppy and that overrides the yeast. So you might like other saisons, I
shall continue to try. When we did
hot.
Yeah, when I did the beer mile, it just felt like I drank nothing but saisons all day long. And I think when we eventually met up with you in the evening, that was when I was just gagging for something that had hops in it, and I think that was when I attacked a pint of Axage at the Euston Tap like it was going out of fashion.
Oh, that's understandable. But I would say, do keep your eye out for other Brew By Number saisons.
And there's gonna be a lot coming out of Brew By Numbers as well, isn't there? Now, what with the investment that's gone into there from Brewdog and all the hype that's now surrounding them as a brewery.
Yeah, I mean, you're just lucky if you can actually get into the brewery on a Saturday to drink any of their beer because they're so popular.
It's a good starting place for the Bermondsey Beer Mile, though. Get there nice and early, and it's a good place to start.
Yep. Good tip.
Right, Steve.
Mark.
Let's move on to the Instagram prizeless prize of the week.
Okay.
Do we have a winner?
Of course we've got a winner. Lots and lots of entries again this week. But the winner this week goes to someone who's actually possibly coined a new hashtag for this as well in craft wankery. It's our friend, the unpronounceable @son of a gun. I can pronounce it this week. Sent not just one, but 4 pictures this week that were absolutely that just blew me away. Just absolute craft wankery. So, son of a gun, you're our Prize This Prize winner, and I'm going to do a little montage of his pictures, and I'm going to put that up on our Instagram account if people want to have a look at this week's Prize This Prize. And also, just to remind you, if you want to have a chance at entering the Prize This Prize, just put something up on Instagram, follow us at Beer O'Clock Show, and just use the hashtag Prize This Prize. Cheers, guys. Craft wankery, Beer O'Clock Show, beer porn, and any of those, and we'll find them. But predominantly, cheers, guys. That's the one that I'm searching for. Okay.
Anything else you want to add before we wrap this up?
No, I'm done for this week. Thank you very much.
Okay, cool. Emma, where can people find information about Crema Brewery? You have a website, don't you?
We do have a website, and I always get the web address wrong. Hang on a second. Yeah, that one. Yeah, obviously, if you don't know the full address, you could just search for Crema's Beer Odyssey. That is the name of our blog, and you will find it hosted by Blogger. Or you could find me on Twitter at FemtoBrewster, and it is in my bio, link to the blog. Hopefully upgrading soon from Blogger because it's annoying, and going to WordPress, which is pretty and beautiful.
Yes, it is.
In the near future.
We'll provide a link to your site and to your Twitter account on the website, which is beeroclockshow.co.uk. Twitter is at Beer O'Clock Show. I'm at Roku Beer. Steve is on Untapped at Beer O'Clock Show. Steve and I'm there at Roku. The website Season 4 Beer List has discount codes for ales by mail, Honest Brew and Beer Boutique. Get your 10% off from any beer on the beer list, as well as the rest of your order. Stephen, what do we have coming up next week, mate?
Next week, we have got another guest reviewer in the form of Glenn Johnson, who's been with us before at St. Glenn. And we are going old school next week because we are going to do a supermarket staple in the form of Shepherd Neame's Bishop's Finger.
Ooh.
Ooh.
So, some oohs from over there as well.
And that's something like 3 for £5 or something at Asda at the moment, so get in, because I know
Yes.
I know that because my wife bought me for 3 for £5. So I've got 3 bottles of Bishop's Finger to get through.
Well, you'll do one next week on the show.
I will, yeah. Right, that's it. Thank you very much, Emma, for joining us yet again. It's lovely to see your little face on the computer.
Thank you.
Thank you for educating me about saisons. Appreciate your enthusiasm for the style.
Yeah, you'll become a huge fan yet. I'm sure you will.
And you educate me on Twitter about beer all the time, Emma. It's much appreciated.
It's a pleasure.
Hope to see you soon. Thank you.
Yes, likewise. Yep. Okay. Good night.
And Steve, thank you very much, mate.
Yes, mate. It's been the highlight of my week. Make sure to hang around all the way to the end of the show for the interview with Will Hawkes about the London Beer City, because it's very insightful about some of the events that's coming up.
Indeed. Until next week, cheerio.
It's Beer O'Clock, and welcome to Will Hawkes, Beer Writer of the Year 2013 and creator and coordinator of the London Beer City. Welcome to the show, Will.
Great to be here. Thanks very much.
Let's get away with the obvious questions first of all. Why London Beer City?
Well, I think we all know how London's beer scene has evolved over the past few years with the rise in the number of breweries, the rise in the number of pubs selling good beer, and there's a real energy at the moment. And I think it was time to have an event that celebrated that brought together the great places to drink beer with the great beer that you can get that's brewed both in London and outside. And I was aware there'd been beer weeks around the world that had been incredibly successful. I think in particular Melbourne and Philadelphia. And I spent a few days in Philadelphia at the end of May, start of June for Philly Beer Week, and I was just really impressed by how much fun it was, you know, the people who'd come out to enjoy themselves, and what a great advert it was for that city. And I thought that was something that we could do in London, and we could do really, really successfully in London. So because of Craft Beer London, I've got a reasonable sort of group I can talk to. You know, I think we've got the best part of 10,000 subscribers now. So, and I've got a column in the Independent, and you know, so I know the brewers, I know the bars, I know the pubs. So I thought I could coordinate it reasonably successfully. So that's why I decided to do it, essentially.
Okay, and so for anybody that's maybe been on the moon for the last few weeks, you wouldn't have been able to have helped but notice the information coming out about London Beer City. But just tell us exactly what it is.
It's a week, well actually 8 days of events in London between the 9th and the 16th of August at the city's best pubs, bars and breweries. We've got open days at breweries, we've got tours, we've got special live brews, we've got dinners, we've got a beer and coffee matching event at Craft Beer Company we announced today. So there's all manner of exciting stuff going on relating to beer, centering around beer, and also it's the week of the Great British Beer Festival. So we thought lots of people will be in town for beer anyway. The GBBF is a fantastic event. Why not do it that week and just add to, you know, make a focal point of that week in the beer calendar.
And obviously you're coordinating the week. Who else is involved?
Well, I've worked reasonably closely with the London Brewers Alliance to involve London brewers. So they've been helping to chivvy along London brewers to produce events, and I think they've done that really successfully. I mean, John Crine is the secretary of the LBA, has been really, really helpful, and so is Paddy Johnson, who works for Windsor and Eton Brewery. So we've got all manner of different events. And then on the flip side, I know people who run bars, I know people who run breweries, so I've been able to sort of encourage them to put interesting things on. So that's been it, really. I mean, it's been me. I've organised it. I'm coordinating it. I've got people in to produce a programme, produce a website, Twitter, Facebook, and then the LBA have helped with a lot with producing events and also promoting the event.
How receptive have you found that the brewers have been to putting on some of the special events that they're putting on?
I think really receptive, and I've been really pleased by how inventive brewers have been. I mean, to pick one example, it's not a London brewery, just outside London, Siren. Some of the stuff they're putting on, they've got a live brew at the Earl of Essex on the Monday of the week, which will involve punters bringing in ingredients, and then Ryan, who's the head brewer, will decide if he wants to put that in, which could be really good fun, I think. And then there's Camden Town, obviously, who are just such a creative, energetic company. They've got a beer and food matching dinner at Caravan, which is a great place in King's Cross. On a smaller scale, perhaps the Colonel are going to be opening up on a weekday evening for the first time ever, which would be great fun. 4 Pure as well, one of my favourite new London breweries. They'll be opening on the same evening, which is the Wednesday of the Beer City week. So I've been absolutely delighted. I think you're going to get a really good flavour of where beer is in London at the moment, and it's such a healthy scene.
And if you take a look at the schedule, it's a pretty impressive schedule. You've got at least probably anywhere between 3+ events on every day. How important was it to you to have that amount of variety during the week?
I think it's vital, isn't it? I think if we just had sort of 20 brewery open days, that would be fun, but it wouldn't really be what we were looking for. I think the point, one of the points I always try to make when I'm talking about beer is the scene at the moment is energetic and it's incredibly creative. People doing interesting stuff with beer, and I think a beer week which was kind of just very formulaic wouldn't have worked in a city like London, which is just bursting with life at the moment. I think London Beer City will reflect that.
And I'm going to put you on the spot now, so probably the inevitable question for the people that are listening to this interview before the London Beer City week, what's the one event that they shouldn't miss?
Well, it's very hard to pick one. If I can pick a few, perhaps. I've already talked about Siren. I've talked about Camden Town, and I've talked about the Colonel and 4 Pure. I think also there's a couple of interesting events from Windsor and Eton. I think Paddy will be doing a pub crawl on the Friday evening, which will be great fun because Paddy is so knowledgeable about beer. Truman's are also doing a pub crawl, a historic pub crawl around Spitalfields. If you know the history of Truman's, that should be great fun. And we've also, let's not forget, we've got the London Craft Beer Festival, which is a part of the London Beer City programme, which, if you look at the lineup of brewers they've got from London, from the UK and further afield, and Sierra Nevada, you think that is something that any serious beer fan should certainly consider going along to.
And as you say, you've got both the London Craft Beer Festival and the GBBF running around that week.
Yeah.
How receptive have those two festivals been to all of these other events happening at the same time?
Well, I think the London Craft Beer Festival have been very receptive. I think they see the benefit of something like this, and CAMRA have been receptive too. I mean, for GBBF, for CAMRA, I mean, this is compared to them, we're quite a small event. But I think it'll complement what's going on at GBBF, and it'll help to draw even more international attention to London and London's beer scene during this week.
And I think you said it earlier as well, if people are coming down to London specifically for GBBF, it gives them an opportunity to maybe add a day either side to their trip and see what else the capital's got to offer in terms of beer.
I think a lot of people come to GBBF and they maybe go to Olympia and a couple of pubs around that area, which is great. I mean, I wouldn't advise against doing that. I think GBBF is a must visit every year. But there is loads more to offer in London, and if you do decide to come down for a couple of days, then we've got lots of events going on that I'm sure drinkers from across the UK, across the world, will be interested in.
Mm-hmm. Okay then, and just one final question in terms of similar question to what I just asked you, but if we've got people that are listening to this interview after the London Beer City, looking back, what would be the one event that you would have been gutted to have missed?
It's a very hard question. I think there's a couple of events I didn't mention before. On the first Saturday, Beavertown, who are open every Saturday, are having a special sort of musical day. And we haven't announced exactly what it's going to be yet, but from the conversations I've been having with Beavertown, it sounds like that'll be really, really good fun. So I think on the Saturday that'll be hard to miss. And then on the Monday, I think it's on the Tuesday, Brody's are having their Sour Beer Festival at the King William IV. And I think knowing Brody's and their sort of creativity, that should be really, really good fun as well.
Excellent. I'm quite glad you said that one, because that's one of the ones that's on my list to attend. So I should be looking forward to that one even more so now. Okay, so just to finish, just let people know where they can find out more information.
The website is londonbeercity.com, Twitter at londonbeercity, and we've also got a Facebook page.
Okay, well, thank you very much for your time, and I hope the event's a success, and I hope it's the first of many London Beer Cities to come.
Me too.